Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And in this episode, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome legendary guitarist Robin Trower. And Robin's joining me today to talk about the 50th anniversary edition of Bridge of Sighs. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
How does it feel celebrating the album in this way? I mean, there's a box set with 3 CDs and a Blu-ray disc and a double vinyl set as well.
Well, it's pretty wonderful, actually. I mean, I'm sure when we were doing it in 73, 74, you couldn't imagine.
No.
50 years later, it would still be a thing.
Because a bit of background to give you some perspective, is that I was 15 when this album came out. I was still at school. And none of my school friends were that aware of the first solo album, Twice Removed from Yesterday. But it was almost like mythological way that the album started to appear under people's arms as we walked across playgrounds and stuff. And it was such a mysterious album because this is obviously 1974, there's no YouTube, there's no internet, so it's just mysterious cover with this Arabic writing on, no pictures of the band, very little information, but so many of us went and bought it, and it was almost as if the songs just latched on to our memories because this album is so iconic. I mean, it must be around the world, it's a firm fan favourite.
Well, it certainly had legs. I mean, it's as I say, it's still. I mean, I heard it when they were talking about doing this package, the 50th anniversary. Yeah. I heard it probably for the first time completely since I'd recorded it. So, and I was pleasantly surprised how well it stood up.
Because one of the things about it is that it's got a certain feel, hasn't it? It's I think melancholy is the wrong word, but it's obviously drenched in the blues, but in a very something about the whole way that the three of you, Reg Isidore and James Dewar and yourself, brought this sound together. And most of the songs are written purely by yourself. I mean, lyrically, what came first, the music and the lyrics, or the ideas for the songs themselves?
I mean, everything always starts with a guitar idea.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of a song for me. And, once I've pursued the guitar idea, I'll start thinking about what the top line, the vocal could do on it.
Yeah.
And then the lyrics come after that, really. And you always hope that the lyric will grow out of the mood of the music,
Yeah. Now, one of the great things about this new edition is the remix, and because this is where you've let the tracks just run on to the natural end of the songs. Whereas, obviously, for those of you listening, what I mean is that some of the songs obviously faded out. But now we have a chance to hear what happened beyond the fade. What was your feeling about doing that? Were you pleased to do that?
Yeah, I was okay with it. I mean, it was Chrysalis's idea to do that, but anything that can make it feel like there's something fresh about this package, I think is a good thing.
I mean, personally, I absolutely love that, Robin. Some of them, like In This Place, for instance, which is one of my favourite tracks from the album, has got it's originally 4 minutes, 29 seconds, and now it's 6 minutes and 17. Oh, it's just, it's like a veil has been lifted I always felt that when songs fade out, it's like as if you wonder what's around the next corner, what did I miss? But now you can hear everything. And
it's good.
It is, and also a lot of bands when they've done this, because other bands have done this when they've let the fades run on alternative versions of albums. The band kind of one at a time all stop realizing the tape stopped running, but actually, all of the songs end neatly And it does make me wonder whether if vinyl hadn't had the restrictions back then, would you have actually extended some of the songs naturally anyway?
I think maybe we would have done. Yeah, I think, as I say, at that time, in the early 70s, you were under a time restriction, and you could only get so much on an album.
Bridge of Sighs, which is one of my favourite songs by you, period, is such an amazing piece of music. And what I wanted to ask you from a guitarist perspective is that it's almost like a meditation in that the way that as the song drifts towards the end and you play that singular kind of riff that repeats, is that at the time, being a guitarist, many other guitar players may have thought, oh, this is a great spot for a solo, but you just it's almost like this feeling, like a groove that just keeps rolling forwards. Did it almost feel like a meditative kind of feel to the song when you were laying that down?
Well, I think it musically, it has a great atmosphere about it.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do for the outro was to make it feel like it was an orchestration rather than, just going into guitar solo mode.
Yeah.
So, like there's like you mentioned, that there's the theme, which is the main thing that carries it. And then there's, other orchestration ideas that come in. I think that was what was in my mind.
On the remix, you kind of strip that right back, whereas on the original, you've got like the different guitars and things kind of moving into the mix. On the new version, it's really kind of taken back to its barest form. Really, even the wind sound is not there.
Yeah. I that was, again, that's down to the guy that mixed it, and Chrysalis. I didn't have any input on that.
Well, so was it? So that was a new experience for you hearing it in that way as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's good though.
Yeah, I really like it. I think what I love about this package is you've got the choice of hearing a different and new experience with the album, and then of course the one that we've known such a long time. There were another thing that was very different, I felt at the time, was there were two tracks on this album where you had like as if there was a conversation between people suddenly merged in the tracks. Obviously, Bridge of Sighs was one of them, and Two Rolling Stones was the other. Was that? How did that come about in both tracks? Really, because there's this like gentle conversation at the end of Bridge of Sighs. I mean, was that your idea or?
No, everything different about from the original is Chrysalis's doing.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah. And I love also the fact, as you got that like sense of a party at the end of Two Rolling Stone with the voices and everything. And for those of you listening, those of you who feel that Two Rolling Stone is one of your favourite tracks, it's an extra 30 seconds long on the on the remix. That track is almost like one of your signature tunes, isn't it? It must be always in your set list ever since you recorded it.
Yeah, no, I've never not done that song. I've never not done Bridge of Sighs, Day of the Eagle, a little bit of Sympathy. Those are the four that are always in the set.
Wow. And you've always, Two Rolling Stone, which is about 7.5 minutes in the original album, and 8 minutes now. Live, it was always roughly the recorded versions that were released live were always even actually shorter than the studio version. So there was you show a lot of constraint in how these songs are done live, whereas some in the hands of some other people it would have been a guitarist stretching out for another 10 minutes or so.
I know. I can only go with what feels right.
Yeah.
So on the recording, it felt right to go that long, and live, again, it has to feel like that's the natural length of it. If you see what I mean.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a guitarist that obviously plays from feel. As I say, your background is from the blues, etc. So when you play live, is there a sense of how you feel, what's going on in your life, comes out of the way that you play and interpret the music? So it's always different each time you do it.
Well, there is a sense of free form, especially with the lead work.
Yeah.
So you don't know quite what's going to happen, although you've got maybe some basic ideas that you form a work of soloing around. You just don't know. Something could happen. You hear, no, it hits a lovely sustain, and all of a sudden you're off somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you've got to be open to be free with it.
When you were pulling the original album together, I know we're going back a long way, but the album is sequenced in such a perfect manner. I mean, obviously, I presume the songs would have come together in different ways, but when you were sequencing the music, especially from going from Bridge of Sighs to In This Place, did a lot of work go into that to create this kind of feel for the whole piece of music?
To be honest, I think it's just a happy way it all fell together.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's all about the ideas you've got. If the ideas are there to do it a certain way, then you've got it, haven't you? But, I certainly wasn't bashing my head trying to come up with, ideas for it. It was all very natural. It all seemed very, natural and right.
And James Dewar's interpretation of your lyrics, because obviously you wrote the lyrics to many of the songs. He's obviously you wrote the music, but for me, his interpretation of the words is just sublime. He sings the music so well with such passion, especially on the ballads In This Place and About to Begin. I mean, looking back, I mean, what are your feelings about James's singing? I mean, he's sadly missed.
Absolutely. Well, Jimmy was absolute dynamite. Not only was he a brilliant musician as a vocalist, but he had this beautiful instrument as well. He's so underrated. And his vocals are a very big part of why that album was a success.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, I mean,
I always used to, by the way, check with him that he was happy about the lyric I was giving him.
Yeah.
He had to really like it and feel like, it would be comfortable for him.
Well, I mean, listening to it, I was listening to the remix yesterday, and when you hear him sing About to Begin, it sounds like he's in the song. It sounds like you have to check the credits to actually see that he didn't write the lyrics. It sounds like it's coming directly from the heart, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the uniqueness, the specialness about Jimmy. He had that wonderful ability.
Yeah, and on the Bridge of Sighs, which is such a great title, and lyrically, it does feel as if we're all standing on the edge, as it says in the booklet in the box set itself. But it's a universal song, isn't it? It's not depressing. It's actually full of hope, but really heart rendering as well.
It's a soulful piece, and no mistake.
It is indeed. Now, I know you're synonymous with the Fender Stratocaster, and I just wanted to ask about this because at the cusp of you recording this album, well, obviously this was your second solo album, but when you were in Procol Harum, you were a Gibson man, and I remember because I go back that far in Guitar Player magazine. April '74, because I've still got a copy of it, where you were interviewed, where you were doing a tour with Jethro Tull, and Martin Barr left his Stratocaster propped up against an amplifier, and you'd picked it up and plugged it in, and it says with a shout you resounded around the auditorium, "This is it," and you switched to the Strat.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it was almost like a coming home when I was very rude because hadn't asked Marty if I could pick his Strat up, but I don't know why, I just did and plugged it into my amp, and as I say, it's definitely spoke to me.
And it's continued to do so, because the other thing I remember, because so many guitarists from your generation, they've swapped and the different makes of guitars, or the guitar that they may have stuck with, they've had it customized with their own pickups or different necks and things. But you have stayed with the Strat as it is.
Well, not strictly speaking. I mean, for about the last 15 years, I've been playing my signature model.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, which the custom shop at Fenders, they make for me.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of various parts that you can only get on my signature model because of my choice of different pickups and, the weight of the frets and the larger headstock and things like that. It's, as I say, it's unique to my signature model. Yeah.
And you've stuck with the because I remember maple neck was also important to you, wasn't it? Well,
yeah, I like the maple neck. It's just got a little bit more bite to it. You get a little bit more of the string sound.
Yeah. Are you still using roughly the same gauge of strings? Has that changed over the years?
I think not for a long, long time. I've used the heavier strings, but I do tune down now a whole step. So I'm tuned down to D basically.
Oh, right.
Instead of E, so that I can use heavier strings, and it's still possible to bend and vibrato.
Right, because I remember back in those early days, you were using really light strings, weren't you? I think your D string was a 20 gauge. I think, yeah.
I think in that time I was using like a 10, 14, light sort really of strings like that. Yeah, but now it's a 12, 15. 17 thing run like that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's that top string really that has to be heavy on a Strat.
Interesting. And so what are the kind of main differences between your signature model? Is it, you say it's the frets and the headstock and the pickups primarily?
Yeah, well, I chose the larger headstock because I thought with a bit more wood in the neck, you might get a bit more resonance.
Oh, right.
I mean, I don't know if that's never been proven, but it's a theory of mine.
Yeah.
I use really large frets, which makes the bending and vibrato easier.
Yeah.
And the pickups I've got a 50s reissue on the neck, a 60s reissue on the middle pickup, and what they call a Texas Special on the bridge.
Right.
And I use the vintage tailpiece, which has the vintage saddles.
Brilliant. I just want, going back to the album itself, because obviously I think this was purely played on I think you had two Strats then. You had a black one and a white one, looking at my notes. What's the other thing about going back to this time is that how many outtakes there were, and they're still in existence. I mean, you're very lucky as an artist that there is so much was left in the archive to pull upon. I mean, a lot, the tapes weren't reused or anything. I mean, did you listen to some for making of this box set? Did you listen to some of the outtakes, or did you just let Chrysalis find what they could find?
Yeah, no, it's just there's so little in terms of outtakes. I think they had to just use what they had.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't do many takes for any of the tracks on that album.
Just happened.
Because some of them we were already playing live. See, so we were already very confident with them.
And I bet you couldn't even imagine that one day in the future there'd actually be a 5.1 surround sound mix of this album.
No, that's true. I mean, I think it needs saying that Jeff Emmerich, the engineer, was a very, his gift for getting a sound was a very big part of why that album is so good.
The other thing that comes out in the remix, and it's not in the credits, is there are little kind of inflections of keyboards in there as well. Very, very slight, but they are there. Was that Matthew Fisher?
No, I don't think there's any keyboards on that album.
It's just probably my imagination. I thought it's probably my imagination. It's probably just the guitar effects on some of the. It's on the remix. There are just slight kind of things. It's probably because it's in the soundscape that is so new after listening to the album for decades. It's like your ears go, "What's that?"
yeah, it's probably guitar parts.
Yeah. No, and it's marvelous to hear those parts as well. Now the album really took off in America, didn't it? I think at the highest point it got to number 7 in the US. Were you surprised on how it literally changed your career?
I'm not sure I was surprised. I thought it was a very potent piece of work. All of us did, all three of us. And the way it was going down live, it was a pleasant sensation to have it go into the top 10,
And it was just purely on the music, wasn't it? Because again, as I said at the start, there's no YouTube, there's no internet. It's just word of mouth, isn't it? There's no pictures of you on the cover. It's just the music did all the talking.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, we got huge radio play. I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, there's some of the little inserts and the radio adverts, US radio spots on the box set as well, which are really, really interesting.
Yeah.
With this happening now and coming out, have you got any plans to maybe play the album in full? If you do any gigs this year?
Well, I'm definitely gigging this year. Yeah. But no, I've got no ambition to play the whole thing full in the whole album. No, it's some of the tracks are not possible to recreate really, especially in this place. I think that'll be the hardest because there's so many important guitar parts on that.
Yes, true. Yeah, and you are doing. Say you've got some gigs coming up this year. You're also doing a Rock Legends cruise. You're planning way ahead in February 2025.
Yeah, that's right. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Is that the first one of those you've done, or have you?
It will be. Yes, I've been offered them before, but always sort of thought, not sure. But this one ties in nicely with a potential second US tour.
And when you go on tour, how many guitars do you take with you? Do you have one that's kind of like your favorite, or that you always kind of the main workhorse of your collection, or on stage stuff? Yeah,
there's usually one that I play most of the time. There is one guitar that always comes out on top though, and that's a cream one that I've got, which I've had for quite a long time now.
Yeah.
But there are others that I enjoy playing as well. So on tour, I usually have about three guitars that I, just one that I use as the main guitar, and then the others are spares.
And your sound, obviously, the Bridge of Sighs album, which is one of my favorite rock albums of all time. You have a very distinctive sound, which you had all the way through your career. But obviously, you're still using a Strat, but it's customized. You're still using Marshall amps. But to create that sound, the effect pedals and stuff you used back in the early 70s don't exist now. So, but you've maintained that sound. What has changed, or how did that evolve over time with the kind of pedals you used?
I think a lot of it is, well, I mean, there's two things to it. It is the actual acoustic sound I get out of the Strat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always set it up, with quite high action so that you can get a sound out of it acoustically.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I think that's an important ingredient. And obviously, really driving the Marshalls is the other side to it, I think.
So interesting. So you've always had like quite a high action on the guitar, then, which which is the opposite to where guitarists went in the kind of late 70s and 80s, when everyone wanted an action that was so low that it was just probably a few micro whatevers away from
Yeah,
string buzz. So yours was a different. Did that help with this sustain with the guitar?
it does. Yes, definitely. Yeah, they don't fret out, so it is easier to get a sustain with a higher action.
Brilliant. Okay, and finally, Robin, this box set comes out. Are there? You probably might not be able to say. Are there any kind of plans to revisit any of your other classic albums from around this period in this way?
I think it's in the back of everybody's mind that For Earth Below should maybe have a reissue.
Well, yes, definitely.
And of course the live album. That's a really good piece of work.
It is, isn't it? And also because of when that came out, everybody, including myself, has obviously thought, well, there must have been room for a double album there.
Actually, it was done in Sweden.
Yeah.
And what it was a radio show.
Oh yeah.
And it was going out live on the radio in Sweden. But some weeks later, they sent us luckily enough, they recorded it as well. So they sent us a tape of the recording, and we thought, this could be an album. It was that good,
It is that good. And again, like I said earlier, the fact is the Two Rolling Stone is quite reserved on how long the track is for the live version.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, just before we go, I just like to, as you've mentioned, From Earth Below, which is a great album. Again, being back at school, everyone was buying that as soon as it came out. But I've also got a huge affection for the one after that, which is Long Misty Days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got some, again, James's singing is just sublime on all of these. But I just wanted to just maybe touch on one track in particular, because again, this kind of hypnotic, almost meditative feel to it, which is Messing the Blues.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because it's that riff that just keeps going around in a circular way, but you manage to sing the verses and the choruses and the solo all remains the same thing going over with the same riff, but it's just such a clever arrangement.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, in fact, I think that just came out of a jam, that song. And I'm pretty certain we were jamming in the studio and the tape was running, and then Jimmy came up with the lyric idea, etc., and that's how that came together.
You've got, I think a lot of people, I'm one of them, are drawn towards a lot of your music because of the kind of laid back ballads, I suppose. I'd call them ballads, or kind of songs that kind of almost just hang in space, like I Can't Live Without You from Long Misty Days, Bridge of Sighs, In This Place, Daydream. Do you have a feeling as a guitarist that when you've got a song with those kind of feel, that it really gives you a chance to just kind of almost, it feels like when you solo that you're just slipping on a pair of, I mean this in a pair of slippers, and you just drift, and your guitar playing just serves the song, but just kind of really moves through what is going on around the guitar. I don't know if I put that very well, but there's bass, drums, and you're kind of weaving your way in amongst it in a gentle but really meaningful way. What inspires you when you do your soloing? It just sounds like you're in the story of the music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I tell you what, it does make a real difference, the fact that I created the music I'm playing to.
Oh yeah.
So it is a mood I know all about, and then the lead work just grows naturally from there. Obviously it's quite free form, but I think in my mind and my heart when I'm playing, I think it's all melodies to me.
Yeah, because your playing is very lyrical. It is like a voice, isn't it? It is like and I think that's why it's so moving, is because whereas if a guitar's playing thousands of notes, it can almost become mathematical. But whereas your playing is like lyrical, so it kind of touches you as if it's, well, I suppose because you write the words, you're feeling the meaning of the song as well as playing it.
You're very kind, I must say. I take those compliments not lightly. Yeah, thank you very much.
No, you're most welcome. Well, thank you so much, Robin, for your time today. If people want to find out when you're playing, they can go to robintrower.com. And you say you've got some dates coming up later this year?
Yeah, we're playing 4 dates in the UK at the end of May, and then in the autumn, we're off to the US.
Wow. Fantastic. And so you'll be playing some music from your most recent album as well, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna be putting a lot of songs in that have never been played live. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, wow. Is that going to be kind of dipping in and out of your whole kind of catalogue?
Yeah, quite a few from, earlier stuff, but there's going to be quite a few off of No More Worlds to Conquer.
Yeah.
And also a couple of new songs which are on the next album.
Oh, wow. Gosh, brilliant. Okay. And anything from Victims of the Fury?
Afraid not, no. There's something off of In City Dreams, yes. somebody calling. But yeah.
No, great stuff. Well, thank you very much, Robin. Thank you so much for your time. And everybody listening, go out and get this new version of Bridge of Sighs. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
You'll hear things you haven't heard before, and all of it's great. And it's great to hear these extra long versions of the song. So take care, Robin, and hopefully I'll talk to you again in the future. But thank you again for all of your time today.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, a huge thank you to my guest, Robin Trower. That was wonderful to talk to Robin. Bridge of Sighs has been one of my favourite albums for such a long time. It's such a complete piece of work. It's not just about the guitar. It's about the lyrics, most of which was written by Robin. But it's James Dewar's interpretation of those lyrics that makes it sound like you think, well, it must be James that wrote them. He gets completely in the song, and then of course the way he sings and then the way that Robin then plays the soloing around it makes some of this music completely timeless, and music that really sums up the human condition in this place about to begin, in particular the ballads, but also a little bit of sympathy, great tracks, and Day of the Eagle. Bridge of Sighs, of course, is just, you just feel that no matter what your age or your background, it just connects with you. All of us at some time in our life have been crossing a bridge of sighs. But it's great to have this new mix. Some of the songs are only 2 minutes long, extra work. And it's not just soloing, it's the way that Robin interprets the music and uses these notes to just land just where they're needed to be. So the 50th anniversary Bridge of Sighs is out now. Check out Robin Trower's website at robintrower.com, and please subscribe to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Check out the website at nowspinning.co.uk, the YouTube channel, become a patron or YouTube member. Wherever you are on social media, so are we. Take care. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor, and I shall look forward to talking to you all very, very soon.